As Officer Greg Thompson approached the frozen lake, he never anticipated the chilling sight that awaited him. A massive truck had crashed through the seemingly solid ice road that the state opened every year. As more units responded to the scene, it became evidently clear to Officer Greg Thompson that this wasn't just an unfortunate accident. Someone had deliberately sabotaged the ice road so that the truck would fall through. But why? Initial confusion turned to alarm when the officers discovered the unusual cargo inside, leading them to hastily evacuate the entire area. Every year, part of the main road would close down due to a protected animal species that would hibernate there during winter. To keep traffic flowing, they had a special road made that would be a beautiful grass field during summer and an ice road in the winter. Only specific vehicles were allowed to enter, and they all had to have ice chains around their wheels. There had been some trial and error in the beginning of opening the road, but now, after 5 years of use, everything always went smoothly. Well, that was until this year. Because one early morning, a truck suddenly crashed through the ice. No one had seen it coming, and the driver barely made it out without any scratches. It truly baffled everyone, as a truck almost twice the size of that truck had driven over the road the day before without any issues. That was why Officer Greg Thompson was called to investigate the crash. The road workers suspected foul play, as they were all certain the road had to be strong enough to hold the weight of such a truck. Officer Thompson began by asking everyone working on the road if they had seen anything suspicious. No one had actually seen anything, which wasn't making their case very strong. It also didn't help that Officer Thompson already thought they were reaching a bit too far. Before he even arrived at the scene, he figured the ice had to have melted a little. He just couldn't believe someone would tamper with a road like that. It made no sense. The road was only used for freight transport. Who would want to tamper with that? But as he looked around the road, he began to see some signs he simply couldn't ignore. Somewhere close to the crash site were tire tracks, and no one could tell him from which car they came. As more incident response teams showed up, Officer Thompson found more and more evidence. A crowbar in the pushes, food wrappers none of the road workers had seen before, and used gloves in the trash. It was almost as if the people who had done this wanted to be found. Officer Thompson bagged everything and took it with him to the lab for DNA testing. He knew it was a long shot. The people who did this probably used the gloves to hold onto the crowbar and eat their food. But maybe a bit of someone's saliva had gotten onto one of the wrappers, or someone had left a few hairs behind on the gloves. Officer Thompson knew he had to at least try. Sadly, there was no hit. The people who had done this either were very clean or had never done anything illegal before. He decided to go back to the scene and try and find more evidence. Someone had to have screwed up somehow. It just had to. And most importantly, Officer Thompson had to figure out why specifically this truck had crashed. The crash site was now swarming with response teams. They were trying to figure out how to best get the truck out of the water, but they couldn't move it as long as Officer Thompson was investigating the incident. He had to give them permission to lift the truck out of the water, but first he had to know what was inside. The ice around the sides of the truck had cracked, so getting to the back of the truck was a little bit tricky. He also couldn't simply open the truck's cargo doors as they were halfway under the water. He eventually came up with a plan. They had to lift the back side of the truck out of the water, and once they had done that, he could look inside. Officer Thompson approached the driver, who shivered beside the road. He asked about the cargo and any odd events before the crash. The driver, confused, claimed ignorance about the load. Thompson, sensing the urgency, used his phone to call for specialized help. He contacted a crane service and a diving team, explaining the situation's urgency. Both teams were dispatched quickly. showcasing Thompson's effective communication. While waiting for the crane and divers, Thompson coordinated with the emergency teams on site. They secured the area, setting up barriers and warning signs to keep onlookers safe. Thompson checked the equipment, ensuring everything needed for the recovery was on hand. His actions kept the scene organized, preventing further accidents and preparing for the crane and divers' arrival. The crane arrived with a rumble, its massive frame towering over the scene. The divers, equipped for the cold, briefed Thompson on their plan. They inspected the ice and water around the truck, determining the best way to attach the cables without causing more damage. Their professionalism and Thompson's oversight promised a smooth operation. Thompson watched as divers plunged into the icy water, moving with purpose. They worked around the submerged truck, attaching cables securely. Above, the crane operator stood ready, waiting for Thompson's signal. Thompson communicated between the divers and the crane operator, ensuring everyone was synchronized for the lift. As the divers signaled success, Thompson gave the crane operator the go-ahead. The crane's gears groaned as it began to lift the truck slowly. Thompson monitored the operation closely, ready to adjust the plan if needed. The truck started to emerge from the water, revealing more of its hidden secrets, inch by inch. Thompson oversaw the setup, ensuring the crane and divers were ready. He communicated with the crane operator, outlining the plan clearly. The divers, now in the water, signaled their readiness. Thompson, from his vantage point, directed the operation, maintaining a clear line of sight to both the divers below and the crane operator above. His leadership ensured seamless coordination between the teams. Under Thompson's watchful eye, the divers worked beneath the icy surface. They maneuvered through the cold, dark water to attach the cables securely around the truck. Their movements were precise, each action deliberate, to avoid any further damage to the fragile ice or the submerged vehicle. Thompson kept a close watch, ready to provide guidance or assistance if needed. With the diver's signal, Thompson gave the crane operator the nod to start the lift. The crane's engine hummed louder as it took on the weight of the truck. Thompson monitored the progress, his gaze shifting between the emerging vehicle and the crane's arm, ensuring the balance and stability of the operation. The truck slowly ascended, water dripping from its frame. As the truck rose above the water's surface, Thompson observed closely. The once submerged parts of the vehicle were now visible, revealing clues to the mystery. He noted the condition of the truck as it dangled, making mental notes for the investigation. The operation was far from over, but each movement brought them closer to uncovering the truth. With the truck partially out of the water, Thompson began planning the next phase. He discussed with the team the need to secure the vehicle for a thorough inspection. The truck, still hanging from the crane, was a puzzle waiting to be solved. Thompson knew the importance of the cargo's inspection, which would require careful handling and expertise. The operation continued, with more discoveries looming on the horizon. With the truck now safely above water, Thompson directed the team to secure the area further. He instructed some officers to extend the perimeter, ensuring the crowd stayed back for safety. Meanwhile, he arranged for additional lighting to illuminate the truck, making every detail visible for the upcoming inspection. His actions kept the scene safe and prepared for the investigation's next steps. Thompson gathered a small team of experts, including a mechanic and a cargo specialist, to inspect the truck. He briefed them on the situation, emphasizing the need for caution given the unknown nature of the cargo. Together, they reviewed the equipment they would need to safely access and examine the contents of the truck. Each member of the team checked their gear, readying themselves for the task ahead. With the team prepared, Thompson led them toward the truck. He supervised as the mechanic used tools to carefully open the cargo hold, ensuring not damage it further. The cargo specialist stood by, ready to identify and assess the contents. Thompson watched closely, aware that the cargo's nature could be crucial to understanding the crash. As the cargo doors finally opened, Thompson and his team peered inside. They took initial observations of the contents, noting the arrangement and condition of the items within. Without disturbing the scene, they began to document everything, taking photographs and making notes. Thompson's focus was on gathering evidence that could explain the crash and the cargo's significance. With initial observations made, Thompson discussed the next steps with his team. They planned a more detailed examination of the cargo, considering the need for additional expertise depending on what they found. Thompson decided to consult with other agencies for support, ensuring they had all the necessary resources for a thorough investigation. The operation was ongoing, with more work needed to uncover the full story behind the truck's plunge. After cutting through the container, Thompson secured the area, ensuring that the sharp edges created by the circular saw were marked and guarded to prevent injuries. He communicated with his team on the ground, instructing them to bring up the necessary safety equipment and barriers. This preparation was crucial for allowing safe access to the container's interior for the investigation team. Thompson, with the help of a colleague, carefully navigated the opening he had created. They used a portable ladder to descend into the container, mindful of the potential hazards inside. Once within, Thompson switched on his flashlight, casting light on the contents. He moved slowly, inspecting the visible parts of the cargo without touching anything, preserving the scene for further examination. Inside the container, Thompson began documenting the findings. He took photos of the cargo layout and any identifiers on the packages. He looked for shipping labels or documents that could shed light on the cargo's origin and destination. This information was crucial for piecing together the truck's journey and understanding the significance of its contents. Thompson used his radio to relay initial findings to the team outside. He described the condition of the cargo and any potential leads he discovered. His team took notes, ready to follow up on the information Thompson provided. This efficient communication ensured that every piece of evidence was logged and could be acted upon promptly. After the preliminary inspection, Thompson planned the detailed examination of the cargo. He decided to call in specialists in hazardous materials and forensics to ensure a thorough investigation. Thompson and his team prepared to exit the container, securing the scene for the experts' arrival. The operation was far from over, with significant work ahead to unravel the mystery of the truck and its cargo. Thompson quickly suited up in the hazmat gear provided by the emergency team. He checked the seals of his suit, ensuring no exposure to the hazardous atmosphere inside the container. With a final check of his oxygen supply, he signaled to his team that he was ready to re-enter the container, his movements careful and deliberate to maintain the integrity of his protective gear. Thompson, now fully protected, descended once again into the container. This time, his approach was slower and more methodical, given the potential risks the unknown substances posed. He used a handheld detector to measure for toxic gases, watching the readings closely as he moved further inside. His focus was on identifying the source of the overwhelming odor without compromising his safety. Inside the container, Thompson began a more detailed assessment of the contents. He located several barrels and containers, some of which appeared to be leaking. He carefully documented each item's condition and placement, using his camera to capture images that could later be analyzed by specialists. The evidence he was collecting would be crucial for understanding the nature of the cargo. Thompson relayed his findings back to the team outside, describing the containers and their condition. He provided specific details that would help the incoming hazardous materials specialists prepare for their own entry. His voice remained calm despite the situation's urgency, ensuring clear communication of the critical information needed to handle the scene safely. After completing his initial sweep, Thompson began preparing to exit the container, making way for the hazardous materials team to take over. He marked areas of concern with fluorescent tape and left notes on his initial observations. As he climbed out of the container, he knew the investigation was entering a new phase, with experts soon to unveil the full extent of the threat. Thompson's urgent call for evacuation set the team into swift motion. They began directing the gathered crowd and other responders to move to a designated safe distance, using loudspeakers to communicate the urgency without causing panic. Each member of Thompson's team knew their role, ensuring a quick and organized retreat from the immediate area surrounding the truck. As the evacuation proceeded, Thompson and a few officers stayed behind momentarily to secure the perimeter. They expanded the safety zone, placing additional warning signs and barriers to prevent anyone from unknowingly entering the hazardous area. Thompson's priority was the safety of both the public and the emergency responders, making sure the scene was as secure as possible before he too retreated to a safer distance. Once at a safe distance, Thompson coordinated with the hazardous materials hazmat team that was en route. He provided them with detailed information about the situation, including his observations inside the container and the immediate need for evacuation. This pre-arrival briefing was crucial to prepare the specialists for what they would face, ensuring they arrived fully informed and ready to act. With the area evacuated and the hazmat team on its way, Thompson and his team set up a temporary command post at a safe distance. From here, they monitored the situation, maintaining communication with the hazmat team and other emergency services. Thompson kept a close eye on the scene, ready to provide additional support or make further decisions based on the specialists' findings. As Thompson awaited the arrival of the hazmat specialists, he reviewed the information gathered so far. He organized the photographs and notes taken during his brief inspection, preparing them for the experts' review. This preparation would ensure that the hazmat team had all the necessary background information to begin their investigation into the truck's hazardous cargo efficiently. Following the evacuation, Thompson and his team focused on establishing order amidst the chaos. They quickly set up a checkpoint to account for all emergency personnel and bystanders, ensuring everyone was safe and accounted for. This methodical check brought a sense of order to the scene, calming the nerves of those involved and ensuring a structured approach to the emergency. Thompson took a moment to relay information to the local authorities and the community. He used a portable PA system to inform the gathered crowd about the situation, without causing panic. His calm demeanor and clear instructions helped reassure the public, maintaining trust in the emergency response efforts. This communication was key to managing the crowd's expectations and keeping everyone informed. As the hazardous materials team arrived, Thompson briefed them on the situation. He led them to the command post, where maps and photographs of the truck and its location were laid out. The specialists listened intently as Thompson shared his observations, preparing themselves with the necessary background information before approaching the hazardous zone. Together with the hazmat team, Thompson participated in a strategy session. They discussed the potential risks and formulated a plan to safely inspect and neutralize the hazardous materials. This collaborative effort ensured that all safety protocols were considered, combining Thompson's on-site experience with the specialists' expertise in hazardous materials. With a plan in place, Thompson and the hazmat specialists donned their protective gear, readying themselves to approach the truck. They double-checked their equipment, ensuring that their suits were sealed and their breathing apparatuses were functioning correctly. This preparation was crucial for the safe handling of the hazardous situation they were about to face, setting the stage for the careful inspection and neutralization of the truck's dangerous cargo. The biohazard team, meticulously examining the cargo, confirmed the presence of dangerous materials. Their findings were immediately shared with Thompson, who coordinated with local law enforcement to secure the scene further. They set up a wider perimeter and began documenting evidence, taking photographs, and collecting samples of the materials for further analysis, ensuring every precaution was taken to safeguard the community and the environment. Thompson briefed local authorities and emergency management on the findings, emphasizing the need for a coordinated response. The news prompted an immediate meeting with community leaders to discuss the implications of the discovery and to plan public communication strategies. Efforts were made to reassure the community, with Thompson and other officials addressing concerns and outlining steps being taken to manage the situation safely. An investigation was launched into the origins of the hazardous materials and the intentions behind their transportation. Thompson collaborated with federal agencies, sharing information and pooling resources to trace the material's source. The team worked tirelessly, conducting interviews and reviewing shipping records, determined to uncover the network behind the environmental protest group's actions. The revelation of the biohazardous cargo led to a nationwide reassessment of transport and safety protocols. Thompson participated in discussions with policymakers advocating for stronger regulations and oversight of hazardous material transport. Workshops and training sessions were organized for transport companies and emergency responders, focusing on improving safety measures and emergency response strategies. As the community and law enforcement processed the shock of the incident, Thompson remained at the forefront of the ongoing investigation and response. He worked alongside environmental experts to mitigate any potential harm from the exposed materials. Efforts were also made to educate the public on the importance of safety and vigilance in preventing such incidents, with Thompson leading initiatives to strengthen community and environmental safety. Thompson, along with his team, meticulously traced the connections between the activists and their broader network. They conducted raids on suspected hideouts, seizing documents and digital evidence that shed light on the group's reach and intentions. This hands-on approach was critical in piecing together the puzzle of the group's structure and goals, leading to several key arrests. Following the revelations about the protest group and the biohazardous cargo, Thompson participated in community forums and town hall meetings. He presented the facts of the case, emphasizing the importance of safety and the need for regulatory changes. These discussions opened a dialogue between law enforcement, policymakers, and the public, fostering a shared understanding of the challenges and necessary responses. In response to the incident, Thompson worked closely with transportation companies and government agencies to overhaul safety protocols. He oversaw the implementation of new tracking systems for hazardous materials and contributed to developing emergency response plans. His hands-on involvement ensured that the new measures were practical, effective, and enforceable. Thompson's dedication to the investigation and his efforts to improve public safety earned him recognition both within his department and the wider community. He received commendations for his leadership and was invited to speak at national conferences on transportation safety. His contributions highlighted the critical role of law enforcement in public health and safety, strengthening the bond between the police force and the communities they serve. Even as the immediate crisis waned, Thompson remained vigilant. He established ongoing workshops for local businesses and schools on safety and preparedness, emphasizing the importance of community involvement in preventing similar incidents. His commitment to education and preparedness ensured that the lessons learned from the incident would have a lasting impact, contributing to a safer, more informed community. Thompson spent time reviewing the case files, analyzing the steps taken from the emergency response to the investigation's closure. He organized debriefings with his team to discuss what was learned and how future responses could be improved. This reflective practice not only enhanced their operational effectiveness, but also fostered a culture of continuous learning and adaptation within his department. To address the ethical questions raised by the case, Thompson initiated a series of workshops on ethics in law enforcement. He invited experts to speak on the moral responsibilities of police officers, creating a space for open dialogue among his colleagues. These discussions helped to reinforce the department's commitment to integrity, accountability, and respect for civil liberties. Understanding the importance of community trust, Thompson expanded his outreach efforts. He organized community meetings to discuss public safety concerns and law enforcement practices. By actively listening and responding to community feedback, Thompson worked to bridge the gap between the police force and the residents they serve, reinforcing his role as a trusted community leader. Recognizing the impact of mentorship, Thompson dedicated more time to mentoring young officers. He shared his experiences and insights, emphasizing the importance of ethical policing and community engagement. His mentorship helped shape a new generation of officers who were well prepared to face the challenges of modern law enforcement with integrity and compassion. As Thompson looked to the future, he continued to explore ways to improve public safety and police-community relations. He remained committed to applying the lessons learned from the incident to make lasting changes. His leadership and innovative approaches inspired his team and community members alike, setting the stage for ongoing progress and positive change. To promote responsibility, Thompson spearheaded a program where officers participated in community service projects, helping to clean up local parks and participate in environmental conservation efforts. This program not only contributed positively to the community's well-being, but also allowed officers to engage with residents in non-enforcement contexts, building stronger, more personal connections. Thompson became an active participant in local government meetings, advocating for policies that would benefit both public safety and environmental sustainability. He worked closely with environmental groups to understand their concerns and to discuss how law enforcement could support ecological initiatives without compromising on safety, demonstrating his commitment to serving and protecting in more ways than one. Recognizing the importance of environmental conservation, Thompson pursued additional education on environmental laws and policies. He began to integrate environmental advocacy into his department's mission, encouraging his officers to recognize environmental protection as a key aspect of public safety. This shift highlighted the interconnectedness of ecological well-being and community health. As Thompson looked forward to this new chapter, he explored partnerships with local schools to educate students on the importance of environmental conservation and the role law enforcement can play in protecting natural resources. His vision for the future involved a comprehensive approach to public service, where environmental stewardship became an integral part of law enforcement's pledge to serve and protect.